Recorded confession, CB Radio Channel 19. Date, October 12th, 2025, 3:22 a.m. Location, mile marker 47, Highway 90 east of Marfa, Texas. Static crackling, distant wind, engine idling. Testing. Channel 19, this is, hell, I don't know what my handle should be anymore. Used to be safety first back when I worked the rails, but that feels like a goddamn joke now. This is Weston Lowe, I guess. Former railroad safety inspector, current. What am I now? Ghost hunter? Crazy person talking to his CB at 3 in the morning? Deep exhale, sound of coffee being sipped. Look, I know how this is going to sound. I know because I would have laughed at some nut job calling in with this story just last week. But I need to get this on record, need someone to know what I saw out here. The emergency alert came through about 20 minutes ago, and it's got my blood running cold for reasons I can't explain yet. I'm parked at the old crossing east of Marfa, where the abandoned spur line cuts across Highway 90. Been sitting here for 3 hours now, ever since that call came in about trespassers on the tracks. Dispatch said someone reported seeing lights moving along the rails at midnight, but when the first unit responded, there was nothing there. Just empty tracks stretching into the desert like a steel scar under the stars. Sound of papers rustling. I shouldn't even be here. Lost my railroad job 6 months ago after the Valencia Street incident. My safety inspection missed a hairline fracture in the switch mechanism. Derailed a freight train carrying nothing but grain, thank God, but still. 3 million in damages, and more importantly, it could have been passengers. Could have been kids. The guilt. Christ, the guilt eats at you like cancer. Long pause, sound of wind picking up. But I can't let go of the rails. Something about the geometry of it all, the precision, the way 2 parallel lines can carry so much weight, so much responsibility. Maybe that's why I keep taking these security gigs, checking out reports of trespassers and copper thieves. Trying to make up for what I failed to catch. Sharp intake of breath. Jesus, it's starting again. You hear that? That low whistle in the distance? I thought it was just the wind through the mesquite at first, but it's too regular. Too musical. Like someone's playing a note on the world's biggest organ pipe. Sound grows clearer. A haunting train whistle, impossibly distant yet crystal clear. There shouldn't be any trains on this line. Burlington Northern abandoned this spur in 1987. I know because I looked it up after I took this job. The last official train through here was a maintenance crew in '99, and they pulled up half the ties afterward. But that whistle, voice drops to a whisper. My dad used to tell me about phantom trains when I was little. Said every old railman had seen one, ghost locomotives carrying the souls of those who died on the tracks. I thought it was just stories, just his way of teaching me to respect the power of the rails. But he had this look in his eyes when he told those stories, like he was remembering something that still scared him. Static increases, whistle grows louder. The fog's rolling in now, thick as cotton. Shouldn't be fog this time of year, this far from any water source. But it's coming up from the south, following the rail line like it's being pulled by something. And in that fog, voice trembling now, I can see a light. A single headlight cutting through the mist, moving slow and steady along tracks that haven't seen traffic in decades. The beam has this sickly yellow color, not like modern LED headlights. More like the old sealed beam units they used in the 50s and 60s. Emergency alert system tone begins blaring through radio. Emergency alert, Presidio County Sheriff's Office. Avoid all rail crossings between Marfa and Alpine. Report any unusual activity immediately. Emergency alert. Tone ends, Weston's voice shaky. Son of a bitch. How did they know? I haven't called this in yet, and I'm the only one out here. Unless, sound of approaching vehicle, headlights cutting through darkness. Patrol car coming up behind me. Sheriff's Department. Deputies getting out. Young woman looks Hispanic. Professional but cautious. She's approaching my truck with her hand near her weapon. Window rolling down, footsteps on gravel. Sir? I'm Deputy Lane with the Sheriff's Office. We had reports of someone parked at this crossing. Everything all right out here? Clearing throat, trying to sound normal. Yeah, sorry Deputy. I'm Weston Lowe. I do security work for the railroad. Got a call about trespassers, just checking it out. At 3 in the morning? Sir, there's no active rail line here. Hasn't been for years. Pause, whistle sound growing fainter. Did you hear that whistle just now? What whistle? Sir, have you been drinking tonight? Looking past her toward the tracks. The fog. Look at the fog, Deputy. It's moving against the wind, following the rail line. And that light. Sound of her radio crackling. I don't see any fog, Mr. Lowe. The night's clear as glass. But I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle, please. Voice desperate now. You don't see it? The headlight in the mist? It's right there, maybe half a mile down the track. Her voice growing more concerned. Sir, I need you to turn off your vehicle and step outside. Now. Engine shuts off, door opens. But as I'm getting out, I look back toward the tracks one more time. The fog's dissipating, rolling back into itself like a movie in reverse. The yellow headlight flickers once, twice, then vanishes entirely. Just empty rails stretching into the darkness, same as they've been for 30 years. Deputy Lane. I can see her nameplate now. She's looking at me with that expression cops get when they're trying to decide if someone's dangerous or just crazy. Professional sympathy with a healthy dose of caution. Voice dropping to almost a whisper. But here's the thing that's got my hands shaking as I record this. That whistle, the one she claims she didn't hear. I know that sound. It's been haunting my dreams since I was 7 years old, ever since the night my father came home from work white as a sheet, mumbling about lights on dead tracks and voices in the fog. The whistle that played at exactly 3:17 a.m., same as my bedside clock when the nightmare always woke me up. Long pause, sound of wind returning. Deputy Lane let me go with a warning about trespassing. She's probably writing up a report about a disturbed individual who needs a psychiatric evaluation. But I know what I saw, what I heard, and I know it's just the beginning. Static increasing. If someone's listening to this, if these recordings ever surface, remember the time. 3:17 a.m. That's when it starts. That's when the Phantom train begins its run through West Texas, carrying its cargo of the dead and the damned. I'm going home for now, but I'll be back tomorrow night, and the night after that, because whatever's out there on those tracks, it's connected to me, to my family, to something that happened a long time ago that nobody wants to talk about. The Phantom train is running again, and God help me, I think it's calling my name. Recording ends with electronic squeal and silence. Recorded confession, CB Radio Channel 19. Date, October 13th, 2025, 11:47 p.m. Location, Marfa Public Library parking lot. Static, sound of papers shuffling, fluorescent light humming in background. Channel 19, this is Weston Lowe again. Been holed up in the library all day, diving into newspaper archives and railroad records. Had to wait until after closing to make this recording. Don't need the librarian thinking I'm any crazier than half this town already does. Sound of coffee cup being set down. Found something. Actually found a lot of somethings, and none of them make me feel better about last night. Papers rustling. Starting with the Marfa Daily Herald, October 1975. Local man missing after reporting strange lights on abandoned rail line. Henry Vasquez, age 34, railroad maintenance worker. Last seen walking toward the old Southern Pacific spur at 3:15 a.m. Found his truck still running at the crossing, driver's door open, wallet and keys inside. No trace of Henry. October 1983. Search called off for missing photographer. Tourist from Dallas named Rebecca Kim. She'd been documenting abandoned railroad infrastructure across West Texas. Her camera was found by a rancher 2 weeks later, smashed to pieces near the rail line. Film destroyed. Rebecca never found. Voice growing more intense. October 1991. Elderly couple vanishes during storm. Walter and Agnes Murphy, driving through Marfa during a rare October thunderstorm. Their car was discovered at the rail crossing east of town, hazard lights blinking. Doors locked, engine running, no sign of the occupants. Agnes's purse was on the passenger seat with a note in her handwriting. We have to follow the light. Long pause. You see the pattern? October. Always October. And always near that same crossing where I had my encounter. But here's what really got my attention. I cross-referenced these disappearances with railroad accident reports from the County Historical Society. Sound of different papers being handled. October 15th, 1952. Southern Pacific Freight Train 47B, carrying what the official report lists as agricultural workers and equipment. Derailed 3 miles east of Marfa at 3:17 a.m. 37 people died. The manifest listed them as migrant workers heading to the cotton fields around Odessa. But here's the thing. I called the cotton processing plants. None of them had any record of requesting workers that month. Voice dropping to a whisper. The accident report is strange. No cause listed. No mechanical failure, no weather issues, no track problems. Just says train departed rails due to unknown factors. But handwritten in the margin, almost too faded to read, someone wrote federal matter. Refer all inquiries to Austin. Sound of truck door opening. Had to step outside. Deputy Lane just pulled into the parking lot. Don't think it's a coincidence. Footsteps approaching, window rolling down. Mr. Lowe? Thought that was your truck. Working late tonight. Just doing some research, Deputy. Historical stuff. About trains, I'd guess. Look, I ran your name after our encounter last night. You really were a railroad safety inspector. Good record too, up until... Silence. Until I screwed up and people could have died. Yeah, that's public record. The Valencia Street derailment. I read the report. Wasn't entirely your fault. That switch mechanism had a manufacturing defect that wouldn't show up in routine inspection. Surprised. You read the technical report? My brother works for Union Pacific up in El Paso. He says these things happen, that you can't catch everything. But he also says most safety inspectors who leave the industry, they don't usually stick around rail territory afterward. Long pause. What's your point, Deputy? My point is that people who've seen what you've seen, they either run from trains or toward them. Which one are you? Sound of her radio crackling with dispatch chatter. Depends on the day, I guess. What about you? You grow up around here? Born and raised. 4th generation Presidio County. My great-grandmother used to tell stories about the ghost train, about people who went missing during the October runs. Family folklore, you know. Voice sharpening with interest. October runs? Every 25 years or so, dating back to the 1950s. People report strange lights, phantom whistles, missing persons cases that never get solved. My great-grandmother called it La Ruta Eterna, the eternal route. Radio static increases. 25 years, that would put the next cycle right about now, October 2025, which is why I've been keeping an eye on that crossing. Had 3 more calls about unusual activity in the past month. Emergency alert system tone begins. Emergency alert, Presidio County Sheriff's Office. Report any unusual railroad activity to authorities immediately. Do not investigate alone. Emergency alert. Tone ends. Speak of the devil. That's the 4th alert this week. Sheriff's getting pressure from somewhere up the chain to monitor rail activity, but nobody's explaining why. Sound of another vehicle approaching. Deputy, we've got company. Car doors slamming, footsteps on gravel. Mr. Lowe? Deputy Lane? I'm Agent Steele with the Federal Railroad Administration. Voice notably deep and authoritative. Agent Steele, this is unexpected. What brings FRA out to Marfa? Routine safety audit of abandoned infrastructure. There's been concerns about liability issues with decommissioned rail lines attracting trespassers. Papers rustling as Weston closes his research. Funny timing for a safety audit, right when people start reporting phantom trains. I'm sorry, phantom trains? Mr. Lowe, isn't it? I understand you used to work railroad safety. You should know better than to spread folklore that might encourage dangerous trespassing. Voice growing defensive. I'm not spreading anything, just researching historical patterns. Historical patterns of what, exactly? Deputy Lane interrupting. Agent Steele, with respect, Mr. Lowe was just doing library research. Nothing illegal about that. Of course not. But Mr. Lowe, I'd strongly advise focusing your research on safer topics. Railroad accidents can be triggering for former safety personnel. Sometimes the guilt manifests in unusual ways. Long silence. How do you know about my background? Federal databases are quite comprehensive. The Valencia Street incident was reviewed by multiple agencies. Your psychological evaluation recommended counseling for work-related trauma. Voice turning cold. I never had a psychological evaluation. Didn't you? Well, perhaps you should consider one. Deputy Lane, I trust you'll keep an eye on our friend here. Make sure he doesn't put himself or others at risk with these investigations. Sound of Agent Steele walking away, car door closing, engine starting. That was weird. FRA doesn't usually make house calls, especially not this far from active rail lines. Voice shaking slightly. Poppy, can I call you Poppy? That man knew things about me that aren't in any public record. Things that didn't happen. Like what? Like that psychological evaluation. I was cleared to return to work immediately after Valencia Street. No evaluation, no counseling recommendation. But he said it like he'd read the file himself. Wind picking up. Mr. Lowe. Weston. I think you should know something. I ran the disappearance reports through our database tonight. Every single missing person case from the October incidents, they were all closed within 48 hours, marked as voluntary departure or relocated out of state. No follow-up investigations. Voice barely audible. Someone's been covering this up for 70 years. The question is why? Sound of distant train whistle, very faint. Do you hear that? Hear what? Whistle growing slightly louder. It's starting early tonight. 11:47 p.m. instead of 3:17 a.m. Weston, I don't hear anything. Voice filled with realization and dread. It's not following the schedule anymore. Whatever happened in 1952, whatever's been building for 25-year cycles, it's accelerating. Papers being hastily gathered. I need to make some phone calls. Need to find someone who was alive in 1952, someone who might remember what really happened to that train. Weston, be careful. If Agent Steele is watching you, if there really is a cover-up, then I'm already in too deep to turn back. Engine starting. The phantom train is breaking its pattern. And tomorrow night, I'm going to be waiting for it. Recording ends with static and the distant echo of a train whistle. Recorded confession, CB Radio Channel 19. Date, October 14th, 2025, 10:33 p.m. Location, outside Eden Clark's residence, Alpine, Texas. Static, sound of wind through truck window, distant coyote howls. This is Weston Lowe, Channel 19. I'm sitting in my truck outside the home of Eden Clark, the woman who might hold the key to everything. Mrs. Clark is 89 years old, former railroad dispatcher, worked the Southern Pacific lines from 1951 to 1987. She's also the only person I could find who was actually working the night that phantom train made its first run. Sound of papers rustling. Took me all day to track her down. Social Security records, old employee rosters, even had to charm the church secretary in Alpine to get her address. But before I tell you what she told me, I need to get something else on record. Deep breath. I found my father's name in the 1952 accident report. Thomas Lowe, age 26, temporary conductor assigned to freight train 47B. Listed among the deceased. Voice breaking slightly. My father died when I was 3 years old. That's what my mother always told me. Car accident, she said. Too painful to talk about, she said. I never questioned it because kids don't question their parents' grief. But there he was, in the official railroad casualty report. Conductor Thomas Lowe, hired just 2 weeks before the derailment. No prior railroad experience. The report noted that he was specifically requested for this assignment by federal oversight personnel. Sound of truck door opening. Mrs. Clark is expecting me. Called her this afternoon. Told her I was researching railroad safety history. Didn't mention my father's name. Didn't want to spook her over the phone. Footsteps on gravel, sound of knocking. Mr. Lowe? Come in, come in. I've got coffee on. Door closing, sound of walking on hardwood floors. Mrs. Clark is tiny, maybe 5 feet tall, but her eyes are sharp as railroad spikes. Her living room is like a shrine to the Southern Pacific. Old timetables, photographs of steam engines, even a conductor's lantern on the mantelpiece. You said you were researching the 1952 derailment. Not many people remember that anymore. Actually, Mrs. Clark, I think it's something that's been deliberately forgotten. I found some irregularities in the official reports. Irregularities. That's a polite way to put it. Sound of coffee cups clinking. Mr. Lowe, before we go any further, I need to know something. Are you working for them? Them? The government men. The ones who came around after the accident, telling everyone to keep quiet about what we saw. Voice quickening with excitement. No, ma'am. I'm not working for anyone. I'm just trying to understand what happened that night. Then you'd better sit down, son. This is going to take a while. Sound of settling into chairs. October 15th, 1952. I was working the night shift at the Marfa dispatch station. 21 years old, been on the job for 8 months. Around 1 a.m., I get a call from Austin Federal Transportation Authority. They said, they're putting together a special freight run, real hush-hush. Agricultural workers, they told me, heading to the cotton fields. Voice dropping to a whisper. But I knew those cotton fields, Mr. Lowe. Harvest was done by September. No reason to bring in workers in October. What did you do? Nothing. You didn't question federal orders in 1952. But I kept listening to the radio chatter, monitoring the train's progress. And what I heard still gives me nightmares. Long pause. Around 2:30 a.m., I hear the engineer, Danny Kowalski, good man, 20 years experience, He comes on the radio, voice all shaky. Says he's seeing lights ahead on the track, but there shouldn't be any other trains. Then he says something that didn't make sense at the time. What did he say? He said, "There's people walking on the tracks. Lots of people. But they ain't casting shadows." Sound of coffee cup being set down shakily. That was the last transmission from train 47B. At exactly 3:17 a.m., we lost all contact. Found the wreckage at dawn, complete derailment, cars scattered like toys. 37 people dead, just like the official report says. But the bodies, Mr. Lowe. The bodies didn't match the manifest. We were supposed to have agricultural workers, men in their 20s and 30s, mostly Mexican nationals. What we found, some of those people were wearing hospital gowns. Some had surgical scars, fresh ones. And some, voice barely audible. Some had numbers tattooed on their wrists. Sound of papers rustling. "Mrs. Clark, I need to ask you about one of the crew members. Thomas Lowe." "Tommy Lowe? You knew Tommy?" Voice tight with emotion. "He was my father." Long silence. "Oh, sweet Jesus. You're Tommy's boy. I should have seen it. You've got his eyes, his stubborn jawline." Sound of tissues being pulled from box. "Your father wasn't supposed to be on that train, Mr. Lowe. Tommy was a switchman, worked the yards in El Paso. But 3 days before the run, he comes to me, scared out of his mind. Says some government men approached him, told him he had to take a conductor position on a special freight. Says they knew things about his past, things that could get him in trouble if he didn't cooperate." "What kind of things?" "Tommy served in Korea. Saw things there, did things. The government men, they had files on all the soldiers who'd been exposed to certain experimental programs. They were calling in favors, forcing cooperation." Voice shaking with rage. "They blackmailed him. They blackmailed a lot of people, son. The passengers, the crew, even some of the railroad management. That whole train was full of people who'd seen too much, knew too much, or been used for things the government wanted to forget." Emergency alert system tone begins, but the sound is distorted, garbled. "Emergency, alert, avoid, rail, danger, October, train." Tone cuts out abruptly. What in blazes was that? Emergency broadcast. They've been happening all week, but that one sounded broken. "Mr. Lowe, Weston, there's something else you need to know about your father. He didn't die in that crash." Dead silence. "What?" "I was first on scene with the rescue crew. We found Tommy about 50 yards from the wreck, barely breathing but alive. He grabbed my arm, pulled me close, and whispered something I'll never forget. Voice breaking. He said, 'They're not dead, Eden. The passengers, they're still on the train. And the train's still running.' Sound of wind picking up outside. If he survived the crash, then how? The government men took him to the hospital in Alpine. Told everyone he died of internal injuries. But I saw the ambulance records, Weston. He was discharged 3 days later into federal custody. After that, nothing. Like he never existed." Long pause, sound of papers being shuffled frantically. "Mrs. Clark, do you think my father could still be alive?" "I don't know, son. But I know this, every 25 years, right around October 15th, I get a phone call. No voice, just the sound of a train whistle. And sometimes, when the wind's just right, I swear I can hear Tommy calling my name. Sound of distant train whistle, growing closer. Do you hear that? Oh no. Oh no, no, no. It's too early. The train doesn't run until the 15th. It's only the 14th. Whistle growing louder, more insistent. Mrs. Clark, the pattern's changing. The phantom train is coming more frequently, breaking its schedule. Then God help us all, because that means it's getting stronger. And if it's getting stronger, voice filled with dread. What? What does that mean? It means the train is finally ready to complete its route. After 73 years, it's got enough souls aboard to reach its final destination. Sound of front door rattling in the wind. Weston, you need to listen to me very carefully. Your father didn't just survive that crash. He was chosen for something. The government men, they didn't pick him randomly. They picked him because he had something they needed. What? The ability to see the dead, to communicate with spirits. It ran in his family, passed down through the generations. Voice barely a whisper. And if it runs in families, then you've got it too, son. That's why you can hear the whistle when others can't. That's why the train is calling to you. It needs a new conductor. Sound of train whistle now incredibly close, as if just outside. Mrs. Clark, I think we need to get out of here. Too late for that. Listen, do you hear voices in that whistle? Calling your name. Straining to listen. Ah, yes. I can hear them. They're saying, Weston. Weston, come home. That's your father's voice, isn't it? Voice breaking. Yes. Oh God, yes it is. Sound of windows rattling. Phantom train whistle overwhelming all other noise. The phantom train is here. And it's not waiting for October 15th anymore. Recording cuts to static. Recorded confession, CB Radio Channel 19. Date, October 15th, 2025, 12:47 a.m. Location, Highway 118, pursuing unknown locomotive. Static, engine roaring, wind whipping through open windows. This is Weston Low on Channel 19. If anyone's monitoring emergency frequencies, you need to hear this. I'm currently doing 65 miles per hour down Highway 118, chasing something that shouldn't exist. Sound of gravel pinging against truck undercarriage. The phantom train is real. It's running parallel to the highway, about a quarter mile to my right, and it's not following any railroad tracks I know of. Hell, there aren't even any active rails in this stretch of desert. Distant train whistle, mournful and impossibly long. There it goes again. That whistle. It's like it's calling directly to me. Every time I hear it, something deep in my chest responds, like a tuning fork striking bone. Sound of CB radio crackling. Weston, this is Deputy Lane. Where the hell are you? I've been trying to reach you for 2 hours. Poppy, thank God. I'm about 15 miles south of Alpine, heading toward the Chizos Mountains. The train broke its pattern. It appeared 6 hours early, and it's not following the historical route. Train? Weston, there are no scheduled trains on any of these lines tonight. I checked with dispatch. That's because this isn't a scheduled train, Poppy. This is the phantom locomotive from 1952, and it's hunting. Long pause, static. Weston, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Agent Steele contacted the sheriff's office an hour ago. He says you've been compromised by what he called psychological contamination related to your father's death. He's got federal authorization to bring you in for psychiatric evaluation. Bitter laugh. Psychiatric evaluation? That's rich. Jonah Steele's been playing us from the beginning, Poppy. He's not here to investigate rail anomalies. He's here to cover them up. Again, what are you talking about? Sound of train whistle, closer now. My father didn't die in a car accident when I was 3. He died on that phantom train in 1952, but not the way the reports claim. He was recruited, blackmailed into serving as conductor on a federal operation that went catastrophically wrong. Weston, you're scaring me. Pull over and wait for me to find you. I can't stop, Poppy. Every time I slow down, the train gets closer, and I can hear voices calling from the passenger cars. They're not random voices, they're specific. They know my name, my history, things about me that no one else knows. Sound of something metallic scraping against truck bed. Jesus Christ, what was that? Pulling over, engine idling, footsteps on gravel. I'm getting out to look. The train stopped about 200 yards away, just sitting there in the middle of the desert. No tracks beneath it, just floating about 3 feet off the ground. The locomotive is massive, bigger than any engine they built in the 1950s. Black steel with silver accents, and the number 47, a 1 painted on the front in what looks like dried blood. Sound of wind picking up, carrying distant voices. The passenger cars, there are at least a dozen of them, and they're glowing with this sick, greenish light. I can see silhouettes moving inside, pressing their faces against the windows. Some of them are waving at me. Voice breaking. One of them looks like my father. CB radio crackles. Weston, Agent Steele just arrived at the station. He's got documentation that your father was never a railroad employee. Says Thomas Lowe died in El Paso General Hospital in 1955 from complications related to combat exposure in Korea. That's a lie, Poppy. I have the accident reports right here in my truck. Thomas Lowe, age 26, temporary conductor, died October 15, 1952, in the derailment of freight train 47B. Steele says those documents are forgeries, part of an elaborate delusion you've constructed to cope with childhood trauma. He says you've been creating false evidence for weeks. Sound of footsteps approaching on gravel. Poppy, someone's coming. I can hear footsteps, but there's no one visible. The sound is coming from the direction of the train. Emergency alert system tone, but distorted and layered with multiple voices. Emergency, emergency, citizens of Brewster County. Do not, repeat, do not approach railroad facilities. Federal investigation in progress. Armed suspect. Weston Lowe. Considered extremely dangerous. Shoot on sight. Tone becomes increasingly garbled. Weston, Weston, come home. The conductor is waiting. All aboard. Final call. Alert cuts to static. Did you hear that, Poppy? Did you hear my name in the emergency broadcast? Weston, the only emergency alert I heard was about you being a dangerous fugitive. What are you talking about? Footsteps getting closer, accompanied by the sound of dragging chains. The footsteps are getting closer. I can see boot prints appearing in the sand, but no one's making them. Size 10, steel-toed work boots, the same kind railroad workers wore in the 1950s. Voice barely a whisper. Weston, someone just called my name. A man's voice, rough from years of smoking and shouting over train engines. Weston boy, look at me. Sound of truck door creaking open on its own. The voice, it's coming from inside my truck now. The driver's seat is depressing like someone's sitting in it, but I can't see anyone. You've grown up strong, son. Just like I knew you would. Poppy, my father is here. I can't see him, but he's here talking to me. Weston, please. You need medical help. Agent Steele says this kind of psychotic break is common in families with histories of interrupting. Tell the deputy she needs to stop listening to Agent Steele. Jonah's not who he claims to be. The voice, my father's voice, it's getting stronger, more solid. Sound of phantom train whistle, but now it's harmonizing in impossible ways. The train's calling, Weston. It's been calling for 73 years, collecting the people they murdered, the witnesses they silenced. But we're not complete yet. We need a conductor who can bridge the worlds of the living and the dead. Dad, what happened that night? What really happened on Train 47B? We were transporting subjects from a federal program. Military personnel who'd been exposed to things during the war. Chemicals that changed us, allowed us to see beyond the veil between life and death. The government wanted to study us, but when some of us started talking about what we'd seen, they decided we were too dangerous to live. Sound of metal wheels on invisible tracks. The train is moving again, coming closer. The green light from the passenger cars is so bright now it's casting shadows in the moonlight. The derailment wasn't an accident, son. They rigged explosives on the tracks. 37 people died that night, but their souls couldn't cross over because they died with unfinished business. We've been trapped here ever since, waiting for someone who could complete our mission. What mission? To expose the truth. To make them pay for what they did. But we need someone alive, someone who can speak for the dead. Sound of Poppy's police cruiser approaching, sirens wailing. Weston, I can see your truck lights. Stay where you are. Dad, Poppy's coming. I don't want her to get hurt. She won't be hurt, son. But you have a choice to make. You can come with us now, willingly, and help us find justice. Or you can wait for Agent Steele to silence you the same way they silenced us. Sound of police cruiser doors slamming, footsteps running on gravel. Weston, step away from the truck with your hands visible. Sound of multiple vehicles approaching. That's not just Poppy. There are at least 3 other vehicles, and I can see federal license plates. They're here for you, son. Just like they came for us. Agent Steele isn't investigating the phantom train. He's part of the cover-up. His real name is Jonas Sterling, and he's been cleaning up their messes for 40 years. Voice filled with urgency. You have to choose now, Weston. Come with us and help us expose the truth. Stay here, and they'll make sure you disappear just like all the others. Sound of phantom train whistle, now deafeningly loud. The train is right beside me now. The passenger car door is sliding open, and I can see figures inside. Men and women in 1950s clothing, all beckoning for me to board. Their faces are pale, translucent, but their eyes are filled with desperate hope. Weston Lowe, this is Agent Steele. You are under federal custody. Do not move. Sound of boots crunching on gravel, getting closer. Drop your radio and step away from the vehicle. Dad, they're gonna kill me, aren't they? Not if you come with us, son. On the train, you'll be safe. You'll be with family. And together, we can make sure the world knows what they did to us. Sound of weapons being drawn. Final warning, low. The train door is open. My father's hand is reaching out from inside the car, solid now real. I can see his face clearly, 26 years old, just like in the photograph my mother kept hidden in her jewelry box. Last chance, Weston. Come home. Sound of footsteps running toward the train. I'm sorry, Poppy. I'm sorry for everything. But I can't let them bury the truth again. Sound of boots on metal steps, train whistle triumphant. Welcome aboard, son. Welcome home. Recording cuts to static, then the sound of a phantom train disappearing into the night. Final transmission, Poppy's voice sobbing. All units, suspect has... Jesus Christ, how do I put this in a report? Suspect has vanished. No sign of struggle, no footprints leading away from the truck. It's like he just evaporated. Agent Steele is claiming equipment malfunction, ordering us to file this as a standard missing person case. But I know what I saw. I know what I heard. That train, that goddamn phantom train was real. Static. Recorded confession, CB Radio Channel 19. Date, October 15th, 2025, 3:17 a.m. Location, aboard Phantom Train 4701, passenger car 7. Static mixed with the rhythmic sound of phantom wheels on invisible tracks. This is Weston Low, Channel 19. I don't know if anyone can hear this transmission. I'm broadcasting from inside the phantom train, and the laws of physics don't seem to apply here. Sound of spectral wind, distant voices murmuring. I'm sitting in what was once a passenger car, though the seats are arranged more like a hospital ward now. The other passengers, they're not passengers at all. They're patients, subjects, guinea pigs in a government experiment that went so wrong they had to murder everyone involved to keep it secret. Voice of Thomas Lowe, clearer now. Tell them, son. Tell them what we really were. Dad's sitting across from me. I can see him clearly now, 26 years old, wearing a conductor's uniform that's stained with something darker than coal dust. His eyes, they glow with that same greenish light as the train cars. The truth about October 15th, 1952, is worse than I imagined. These people weren't agricultural workers or even ordinary passengers. They were veterans, every last one of them. Korean War soldiers who'd been exposed to something the military called Project Lazarus. Sound of papers rustling, though no papers are visible. Chemical warfare agents, my father explains, his voice carrying the weight of 73 years of guilt. Not just gas attacks from the enemy. Our own government was testing experimental compounds on American soldiers. Compounds designed to enhance psychic abilities, clairvoyance, telepathy, communication with the dead. Emergency alert system tone, but now multiple broadcasts layering over each other. Emergency alert. Missing person. Weston Low. Last seen. Emergency broadcast. Rail hazard. Avoid all. Alert. Psychiatric patient. Armed and dangerous. Emergency. The dead are calling. Do not listen. Do not follow. Alerts fade into harmonized whispers. Do you hear that, son? They're still trying to control the narrative. Still trying to make you the villain in their story. The other passengers are gathering around us now. Men and women in various states of existence. Some appear solid, like my father. Others flicker in and out of visibility. A few are just voices, disembodied but desperate to be heard. Tell him about the experiments, Tommy, says a woman's voice. I turn to see a figure in a blood-stained nurse's uniform. Tell him what they did to us at Camp Victory. Camp Victory. I've never heard of it, but somehow the name sends ice through my veins. It was a black site in Nevada, my father continues. Officially, it didn't exist. Soldiers who showed signs of psychic sensitivity after chemical exposure were transferred there for medical evaluation. What they got was 6 months of enhanced interrogation, psychotropic drugs, and procedures that changed us. Sound of footsteps on metal flooring, getting closer. Another passenger approaches, a man in an army uniform with captain's bars. Half his face is missing, revealing bone and shadow underneath. Captain Marcus Webb, 3rd Infantry Division. He introduces himself with military precision. I could see the dead after soul. Started talking to my fallen comrades, relaying messages to their families. The brass called it combat stress, but they knew better. They knew we'd been changed. The experiments at Camp Victory weren't just medical research. They were trying to weaponize death itself, create soldiers who could communicate with fallen enemies, extract intelligence from beyond the grave, even command spectral armies. But we weren't weapons, the nurse says. Her name tag reads LT, Sarah Chun, Army Medical Corps. We were people. We had families, dreams, lives we wanted to return to. When some of us started demanding discharge, started threatening to go public, that's when they decided we were too dangerous to live, my father finishes. Sound of phantom train whistle, mournful and long. The train car begins to shift around us. The walls become transparent, showing scenes from the past. I can see Camp Victory, rows of military barracks surrounded by barbed wire, hidden in the Nevada desert. Soldiers stumbling through medical facilities, their eyes hollow and haunted. I watch my father, 26 and terrified, strapped to a table while doctors inject him with compounds that make his veins glow with unnatural light. I see the moment his psychic abilities manifest, the air around him filling with the translucent forms of dead soldiers, all reaching out to him with desperate pleas. They told us we were heroes, Captain Webb says, his voice bitter. Told us we were serving our country by participating in these experiments. But when we started seeing too much, knowing too much, the scene shifts. I'm watching the planning session for the final train ride. Military officials in a sterile conference room, discussing the disposal of compromised assets. Transport them to a remote location, says a general whose face I can't quite make out. Stage an accident. Make it look like a tragic derailment. The families will get death benefits, full military honors. No one will ask questions about a railroad accident. But they made a mistake. They underestimated what their experiments had created. We were already halfway between life and death, Lieutenant Chin explains. The chemicals, the procedures, they'd thin the veil for us. When we died in that derailment, we didn't cross over. We couldn't. We were bound to this world by unfinished business. Sound of multiple emergency alerts, growing more frantic. Emergency. Federal agents responding. Shoot to kill order. Alert. Psychiatric emergency. Subject considered extremely dangerous. Broadcast. The train is coming. The train is always coming. Emergency. They're not dead. They're never dead. Alerts dissolve into static. The train car solidifies around us again. Through the windows, I can see the Texas desert rushing past, but we're moving impossibly fast, faster than any earthly locomotive could travel. Where are we going? I ask. Back to where it started, my father says. Camp Victory. The site's been abandoned for decades, officially decommissioned in 1961. But the underground facilities are still there. The labs, the chambers where they conducted their experiments, the records they thought they'd destroyed. Captain Webb stands, his remaining eye blazing with spectral fire. For 73 years, we've been gathering strength, adding to our number. Every person silenced by the government's cover-up, every witness who mysteriously disappeared. They join us eventually. But we needed someone living, Lieutenant Chin adds. Someone who could bridge both worlds, speak for the dead in the realm of the living. Someone with the bloodline. Bloodline? My father's expression grows grave. The psychic sensitivity, son. It's hereditary. That's why they chose me for the original experiment. Your grandfather served in World War I, reported strange visions after a gas attack in France. And why they've been watching you your whole life. Sound of CB radio crackling with Poppy's voice. Weston, if you can hear this, Agent Steele isn't who he claims to be. I ran his fingerprints through federal databases. His real name is Jonas Sterling, age 78, supposedly died in 1987. But I found classified files. He's been the government's cleaner for supernatural incidents since 1952. He was there the night your father died. He was part of the original cover-up. The train car fills with an otherworldly light as the other passengers react to this revelation. Their forms become more solid, more present as their anger builds. Sterling, Captain Webb spits. Jonas Sterling was the Army psychiatrist who declared us mentally unfit for discharge. He recommended us for the enhanced experiments. He was there when they loaded us onto the train. And he's been eliminating anyone who gets too close to the truth ever since, Lieutenant Chin adds. But he made a mistake tonight. He let you board the train. Now he can't stop what's coming. Sound of phantom train whistle, now triumphant rather than mournful. Through the window, I can see lights in the distance. Not city lights, something else. Something that pulses with the same greenish glow as the train cars. Camp Victory, my father announces. After 73 years, we're finally going home. The other passengers begin to chant in unison, their voices creating a harmony that vibrates through the entire train. Expose the truth. Honor the dead. Make them pay. Emergency alert, but now the voice is clearly Jonas Sterling. All units, the subject has been compromised by psychological warfare agents. Consider him a national security threat. Lethal force is authorized. Repeat, lethal force is authorized. Sterling's voice becomes distorted, inhuman. You cannot escape, Weston Lowe. You cannot expose what must remain buried. Some secrets are worth any price to protect. Alert cuts to the harmonized chanting of the phantom passengers. The train is slowing down. Through the windows, I can see the ruins of Camp Victory. Concrete bunkers hidden beneath decades of desert sand. Rusted equipment poking up through the earth like mechanical bones. This is where it ends, son, my father says, placing a spectral hand on my shoulder. This is where we make our stand. Sound of phantom train brakes, the screech of metal on metal. And this is where the truth finally comes to light. Recording continues as the phantom train comes to rest at the ruins of Camp Victory. Static mixed with distant voices chanting, "Remember us. Remember us. Remember us." Recorded confession, CB Radio Channel 19. Date, October 15th, 2025, 4:42 a.m. Location, moving vehicle, Highway 90 West. Sound of truck engine straining, CB radio crackling with interference. This is Weston Lowe, broadcasting on Channel 19. If anyone's listening, if anyone still believes in the truth, I need you to hear this. Distant sound of helicopter rotors. I'm driving west on Highway 90, somewhere between Alpine and Marfa. Agent Sterling, or whoever the hell he really is, has called in federal backup. There are helicopters in the sky, roadblocks being set up. But Deputy Lane, God bless her, she's risking everything to help me get the truth out. Sound of CB radio static, then Poppy's voice breaking through. "Weston, this is Poppy. I'm about 2 miles behind you in my patrol unit. I've got multiple federal vehicles converging on your position. They're not here to arrest you, they're here to silence you permanently. The phantom train appeared again 20 minutes ago, more solid than I've ever seen it. The locomotive's headlight cut through the desert darkness like a searchlight, and for the first time, I could make out details. Rust stains that looked suspiciously like dried blood, bullet holes in the passenger cars, and numbers painted on the side, 4701. Emergency alert system tone, multiple overlapping broadcasts. Emergency alert, federal manhunt in progress. Subject, Weston Lowe, armed and extremely dangerous. Psychiatric evaluation indicates severe paranoid delusions. Approach with caution. Lethal force authorized. Alerts fade into static. They're painting me as a madman, a domestic terrorist. Anything to discredit what I've discovered about 1952. But I know what I've seen, and I know what Eden told me before she... Voice breaks. Before she walked into the desert and never came back. Sound of CB radio crackling. Weston, it's Poppy again. I found Eden's research notes in her house. The door was wide open, like she just walked out in the middle of writing. There's something you need to know about Agent Sterling. I'm listening, Poppy. Tell me everything. His real name isn't Jonas Steele. According to classified files I accessed through federal databases, files I definitely shouldn't have access to, his name is Jonas Sterling. Birth date, March 3rd, 1947. But here's the thing, Weston. According to these same files, Jonas Sterling died in a car accident in Nevada in 1987. Sound of phantom train whistle in the distance. The whistle's getting closer. The train's following me, pacing my truck along the abandoned rail line that runs parallel to Highway 90. I can see passengers in the windows now, dozens of them, all staring at me with eyes that glow like foxfire. There's more, Poppy continues. I cross-reference Sterling's fingerprints with historical records. The same prints appear on documents dating back to 1952. Military transfer orders, medical reports, incident investigations. Weston, this man has been involved with supernatural cover-ups for over 70 years. He shouldn't be alive. Sound of helicopters getting closer. I can see them now, black helicopters with no identifying markings, the kind you read about in conspiracy theories, but pray you never see in real life. They're herding me towards something, forcing me off the main highway onto these back roads where no one will witness what happens next. CB radio crackles with a new voice, Eden Clark, but distorted, ethereal. Weston, can you hear me, child? Eden? Eden, where are you? I'm with them now. I'm with the passengers. They showed me the truth, Weston. They showed me what really happened in 1952, and what's been happening ever since. Sound of phantom train getting closer, wheels on spectral tracks. The train isn't just carrying the dead from the original experiment. It's been collecting souls for 73 years. Anyone who gets too close to the truth, anyone who threatens to expose the cover-up. Researchers, journalists, government officials who developed a conscience. They all end up on train 4701 eventually. But you're still alive, Eden. I can hear you talking. Am I? I walked out to the tracks at 3:17 a.m., just like you've been doing. The train stopped for me, opened its doors. I thought I was boarding it voluntarily, thought I was in control. But once you step onto that train, Weston, the distinction between life and death becomes meaningless. Emergency alert system, Sterling's voice now clearly audible. All units, target is approaching the containment zone. Maintain perimeter. Do not allow subject to reach populated areas. Project Lazarus protocols are now in effect. Sterling's voice becomes more distorted, less human. 73 years we've kept this secret buried. 73 years of careful management, selective termination, strategic misinformation. One delusional railroad inspector will not compromise national security. Sound of truck engine coughing, CB radio filled with static. My truck starting to fail. The closer I get to the phantom train, the more the electronics malfunction. The headlights are flickering, the radio keeps cutting in and out. But I can still see the train clearly, running alongside me like it's guiding me somewhere specific. Poppy's voice breaks through the static. Weston, I've been researching the rail line you're following. It doesn't officially exist anymore. It was decommissioned in 1953, right after the accident. But aerial surveys show the tracks are still there, buried under 70 years of sand and sagebrush. Where does it lead, Poppy? According to the original railroad maps, it leads to a place called Camp Victory, military installation that was supposedly dismantled in 1961. But Weston, satellite imagery shows structures still standing out there. Underground facilities that someone's been maintaining all these years. Sound of phantom train whistle, now directly beside the truck. The train's right next to me now, matching my speed perfectly. I can see individual passengers through the windows, men and women in military uniforms, medical scrubs, civilian clothes from different decades. They're not looking at me anymore. They're all facing forward, toward whatever destination we're approaching. And in the locomotive's cab, I can see a figure in a conductor's uniform. Even at this distance, even through the spectral haze, I recognize the face. Dad. Thomas Lowe's voice, clear but echoing. Come home, son. It's time to come home. Sound of helicopters directly overhead, rotors drowning out the CB radio. They're right above me now. Searchlights cutting through the darkness, turning the desert into a stark landscape of light and shadow. But the phantom train, it's completely invisible to them. Their lights pass right through it like it's not there at all. CB radio bursts with multiple voices, Poppy, Sterling, and others. Weston, get out of there. They're setting up some kind of containment field. Target acquired. Engaging electromagnetic suppression. All units, maintain radio silence. Project Lazarus is classified beyond your clearance level. Sound of electronic systems failing, CB radio dying. The truck's electronics are shutting down completely now. Dashboard going dark, engine sputtering. But the phantom train's getting brighter, more solid. The passengers are standing now, pressing their faces against the windows, mouths moving in unison like they're chanting something I can't quite hear. Emergency alert, but now it's coming from inside the truck somehow. Welcome to Camp Victory. Authorized personnel only. Psychological Warfare Division. Project Lazarus, classification level, cosmic. Alert dissolves into the voices of the phantom passengers. Join us, Weston. Join us and learn the truth. Join us and help us expose what they did. My truck's slowing down now, coasting to a stop. The headlights flicker once, twice, then die completely. But I don't need them anymore. The phantom train is glowing like a green star in the darkness, illuminating the desert for miles around. And there, rising from the sand like the bones of some massive prehistoric creature, are the ruins of Camp Victory. Sound of truck door opening, footsteps on gravel. I'm getting out now. The helicopters are hovering in a perfect circle around the area, but they won't come any closer. Even Sterling's people have limits, apparently. There are some places too dangerous, even for federal agents who've been dead for 38 years. Phantom train whistle, welcoming rather than warning. The train's stopping. The doors are opening. Steam hisses from the locomotive like the breath of some ancient dragon, and the passengers are filing out onto a platform that shouldn't exist, at a station that was never built. Eden's voice, now clearly among the phantom passengers. Welcome to the truth, Weston. Welcome to Camp Victory. Welcome to the place where America learned to weaponize death itself. Sound of footsteps walking toward the phantom train. This is Weston Lowe, signing off from Channel 19. If you never hear from me again, if the official reports say I died in a mental health crisis or a terrorist incident, remember this transmission. Remember that some secrets are too dangerous to stay buried. Remember that the dead don't always stay dead. And remember that some trains never reach their final destination. CB radio dies with a burst of static. Sound of phantom train doors closing. Distant sound of helicopters retreating. Silence. Recorded confession, CB radio channel 19. Date, October 16th, 2025, 2:13 a.m. Location, Camp Victory Ruins, West Texas. Sound of wind howling through metal structures, distant electrical humming. This is Weston Low. Channel 19. If anyone's still monitoring emergency frequencies, if there's anyone left who gives a damn about the truth, static interference, then clearing. I'm broadcasting from inside Camp Victory. The real Camp Victory, not the sanitized version in government files that claims it was dismantled in 1961. The underground levels are still operational, still powered by something that hums in frequencies that make your teeth ache and your vision blur at the edges. Phantom train whistle in the distance, mournful and beckoning. The train comes every night now, not every 25 years like I thought. Every single night since I arrived here 36 hours ago. It materializes at exactly 3:17 a.m., takes on passengers, then vanishes until the next evening. But the passengers, God help me, the passengers are changing. Footsteps echoing on metal stairs, descending. I'm in what used to be Laboratory Block C, according to the faded signs. The walls are lined with observation windows that look into cells, dozens of them, each one barely large enough for a human being. Medical equipment from the 1950s mixed with technology one don't recognize, devices that shouldn't exist even today. CB radio crackles with Poppy's voice, distant and desperate. Weston? Weston, please respond. I've been trying to reach you for 2 days. They're saying you're dead. Official reports claim you were killed in a shootout with federal agents, but there's no body, no crime scene. Just nothing. I'm alive, Poppy. At least, I think I am. Sometimes it's hard to tell in this place. Thank God. Listen, I've been digging deeper into the Camp Victory files. What they did here, Weston, it wasn't just psychological warfare experiments. They were trying to create soldiers who couldn't die. Literally. Project Lazarus was about weaponizing death itself, finding ways to bring people back from the other side with their loyalty intact, but their humanity stripped away. Sound of metal door creaking open, papers rustling. I'm looking at the files now, Poppy. Stacks of them, preserved in climate-controlled cabinets, like they're waiting for someone to find them. Test subject 4701. That's the number I saw on the Phantom train. Maria Santos, age 19, migrant worker from Brownsville. Cause of death, experimental termination, cardiac arrest induced by electric shock therapy. But there's more. Revival attempt number 1. Subject showed motor function for 47 minutes before cellular degradation. Revival attempt number 2. Subject maintained consciousness for 3 hours, exhibited signs of memory retention. Revival attempt number 3. Voice breaks, papers falling to the floor. Revival attempt number 3. Subject fully functional for 6 days, followed direct orders, showed no signs of independent thought or emotional response. Designated as combat ready before final cellular collapse. Jesus Christ, Poppy whispers through the radio. They were creating zombie soldiers. Phantom train whistle, closer now, accompanied by the sound of spectral wheels on ethereal tracks. Not zombies, Poppy. Something worse. They were perfecting a process to bring people back with their skills and memories intact, but their souls were gone. Hollow shells that would follow any order without question, fight without fear, kill without conscience. Emergency alert system, but the voice is wrong. Multiple voices speaking in unison. Attention Camp Victory personnel. Subject 4701, A through 4701, Z have breached containment. All personnel report to emergency stations. Project Lazarus is now classified beyond cosmic. No one leaves until the situation is contained. Alert dissolves into ghostly laughter. Weston, that alert, it's not coming from any official source. I'm monitoring all federal frequencies, and there's nothing. Whatever's broadcasting that signal, it's coming from inside Camp Victory. I know, Poppy. I've been hearing voices all night. Not just the emergency broadcasts, actual conversations between people who died here 70 years ago. Scientists arguing about ethical boundaries. Military officials demanding faster results. And the test subjects, distant voices becoming audible, overlapping conversations in Spanish and English. Por favor, no más experimentos. I want to go home. I just want to go home. The electricity, it burns inside my head. Make it stop, please make it stop. Sound of footsteps approaching, multiple sets. They're coming up from the lower levels now. The original test subjects, the ones who never made it onto the Phantom train because they were too broken, too damaged to maintain coherence even in death. They've been trapped down here for decades, reliving their final moments over and over. CB radio crackles, Thomas Lowe's voice cutting through the static. "Son? Weston, can you hear me? Dad? I'm in the locomotive, boy. Been waiting for you to understand. The train isn't just collecting the dead, it's offering them purpose. A chance to expose the truth, to make sure what happened to us never happens to anyone else." Phantom train whistle, now directly outside the building. "But you have to choose, Weston. The living can't stay in this place forever. Camp Victory exists between worlds now, neither fully real nor completely spectral. If you stay much longer, you'll become like the test subjects, trapped in an endless loop of the moment you discovered the truth." Sound of windows rattling, supernatural wind picking up. "The train's here. I can see it through the observation deck windows, glowing like green fire in the desert darkness. The passenger cars are fuller than ever before, not just the original victims from 1952, but decades worth of people who got too close to the truth. Journalists, investigators, government officials who grew a conscience." Eden's voice, clearer now, speaking from the train. "Weston dear, you need to listen carefully. Your father's telling you the truth about choosing, but he's not telling you everything. Once you board that train, you become part of the collection process. The phantom passengers don't just expose the truth, they actively recruit new members." "What do you mean?" "Every person who's heard our story, who's been drawn to investigate the phantom train, they're being called here. The train feeds on curiosity, on the need for justice. It's growing stronger with each passing year, and soon it won't need to wait for people to stumble onto the truth. It'll be powerful enough to manifest anywhere, to collect anyone." Multiple emergency alerts broadcasting simultaneously. Phantom train sighted on Southern Pacific Line. Unexplained disappearances in railroad communities. Do not investigate unauthorized train activities. Report suspicious rail sightings to federal authorities. Weston Lowe declared enemy of the state. Lethal force authorized for phantom train encounters. Poppy's voice, urgent and afraid. "Weston, I'm seeing reports from all over Texas. People are disappearing near railroad tracks. The phantom train isn't just appearing at Camp Victory anymore. It's manifesting wherever there are railway lines and curious people willing to investigate. The train's getting stronger, Poppy. Each person it collects adds to its power, its ability to manifest in the physical world. And I think I'm the key to the next phase." Thomas Lowe's voice, now speaking from right outside the building. "You understand now, don't you, son? Your guilt over the rail accident, your obsession with safety, your need to prevent tragedies. It's not just personal. It's hereditary. I passed it on to you the same way my father passed it on to me." "What are you talking about?" "The Lowe family has been connected to railroads for 4 generations, Weston. And every generation, one of us gets called to serve as conductor on the phantom train. Your great-grandfather in 1889, your grandfather in 1927, me in 1952. Now it's your turn." Sound of train doors opening, spectral steam hissing. "The conductor doesn't just drive the train, son. The conductor chooses the destinations, decides who gets collected and when and where. With the right person in charge, the phantom train could expose every government cover-up, every corporate conspiracy, every hidden truth that powerful people want to keep buried. Phantom passengers disembarking, footsteps on ethereal platforms. I can see them all now. Hundreds of passengers filing out of the train cars, each one carrying evidence of how they died, how they were silenced. Scientists with radiation burns from atomic testing cover-ups. Journalists with bullet wounds from investigating organized crime. Whistleblowers with ligature marks from suicides that were actually assassinations. CB radio filled with overlapping voices, the dead demanding justice. Tell our stories, Weston. Expose what they did to us. Make them pay for the cover-ups. Join us and help us drag their secrets into the light. Emergency alert, but now it's clearly coming from Sterling/Agent Steele. Mr. Lowe, I know you can hear this transmission. You have 60 seconds to exit Camp Victory and surrender to federal custody. Project Lazarus cannot be compromised. Too many national security interests are at stake." Sterling's voice becomes less human, more mechanical. "You think you understand what happened here, but you're only seeing the surface. The phantom train wasn't an unintended consequence of our experiments. It was the goal. We created a perfect collection and disposal system for inconvenient truths and the people who discover them. Sound of helicopters approaching, but keeping their distance. For 70 years, the the train has been our most effective asset. Anyone who gets too close to classified information, anyone who threatens national security, they get drawn to railroad tracks at 3:17 a.m. Natural selection for the information age. Thomas Lowe's voice, angry now. He's lying, son. We broke free of their control decades ago. The train serves justice now, not government interests. But we need someone living to guide us, someone who can interact with the physical world in ways we can't. Phantom train whistle, insistent and urgent. The train's calling me, Poppy. I can feel it in my bones, in my blood. The need to climb aboard, to take my place in the conductor's cabin, to help these souls find the justice they've been seeking for 70 years. Weston, don't. Poppy's voice is desperate now. Whatever choice you make, remember that power corrupts. Even righteous power. Even the power to expose truth and seek justice. Sound of footsteps walking toward the phantom train. Maybe she's right. Maybe the train will corrupt me, turn me into something I never wanted to be. But look at the alternative. Sterling and his people continue their cover-ups, continue disappearing anyone who threatens their secrets. How many more Maria Santos will die in government experiments? How many more families will never know what happened to their loved ones? Train doors opening, spectral conductor's uniform materializing. The uniform fits perfectly. The conductor's cap, the brass buttons, the lantern that glows with otherworldly light. I can feel the weight of responsibility settling on my shoulders like a mantle passed down through generations. CB radio, final transmission before the equipment fails. This is Weston Lowe, new conductor of the Phantom train. If you're listening to this, if you're curious about government secrets or corporate cover-ups, if you have information that powerful people want to keep buried, we'll be coming for you. Not to silence you like Sterling's people would. To collect you, to preserve you, to give you the power to expose every hidden truth from beyond the veil of death. The Phantom train doesn't just carry the dead anymore, Poppy. It carries justice. And justice never stops running. Sound of train whistle, triumphant rather than mournful. CB radio dies with a burst of spectral static. Phantom train departing, wheels on ethereal tracks fading into the distance. Silence, broken only by the wind howling through Camp Victory's empty halls. Recorded confession, CB Radio Channel 19. Date, October 17th, 2025, 3:17 a.m. Location, moving north on Highway 90, pursuing phantom manifestation. Sound of truck engine straining, wind whipping through open windows, distant thunder. This is Weston Lowe, broadcasting on Channel 19. Emergency frequency. If there's anyone left monitoring these transmissions, if there's anyone who still believes in truth over cover-ups, static interference, then Poppy's voice cutting through. Weston, Jesus Christ, I thought you were dead. The report said you boarded that train, that you became the conductor. I've been monitoring every frequency for hours. I'm still breathing, Poppy. Still human. But something's changed. The train, it didn't take me. It rejected me. Phantom train whistle echoing from multiple directions simultaneously. What do you mean rejected? I heard your transmission from Camp Victory. You were putting on the conductor's uniform. The moment I tried to board, everything changed. The uniform dissolved in my hands like smoke. My father's ghost, he looked at me with such sadness, such disappointment. He said I wasn't ready, that I didn't understand what the conductor really does. Emergency alert cutting through multiple radio frequencies at once. Attention all units. Phantom train has manifested simultaneously in 17 locations across Texas. Repeat, multiple manifestations confirmed. All railroad personnel evacuate immediately. Lethal force authorized against phantom entities. Sound of screeching brakes, truck swerving. Weston, I'm tracking those manifestations on the emergency grid. Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. It's hitting every major rail hub at the same time. How is that possible? It's not one train anymore, Poppy. It's reproducing itself. Each person it's collected over the decades, each soul seeking justice. They're all operating separate locomotives now. A whole phantom railroad network spreading across the state like a virus. Sterling's voice breaking through on a secure federal frequency. Low, I know you're monitoring our communications. You've doomed us all. Project Lazarus was designed to contain supernatural entities, not unleash them. The phantom train was never supposed to multiply. CB radio crackles with Thomas Lowe's voice, weaker than before. Son, listen to me carefully. When you rejected the conductor's position, you broke something fundamental. The train needs a living guide, someone to keep it focused, controlled. Without that anchor, the train's gone wild, Dad. I can see it in the distance, multiple locomotives racing parallel to the highway, carriages full of the angry dead. They're not just seeking justice anymore. They're seeking revenge. Sound of spectral train wheels on phantom tracks, growing louder. The passengers are changing, Weston. I can feel their rage overwhelming their purpose. Without a conductor to guide them, they're becoming something darker, more primal. They want to punish the living for the sins of the dead. Poppy's voice, urgent and afraid. I'm getting reports from across the state. People aren't just disappearing near railroad tracks anymore. Anyone connected to government, military, corporate interests, they're being pulled from their homes, their offices, their cars. The trains are hunting actively now. Emergency alert, voice distorting with supernatural interference. Warning, phantom entities have breached containment. Project Lazarus protocols now in effect. Seek immediate shelter. Do not attempt to communicate with spectral manifestations. Termination orders approved for all phantom train conductors. Sterling's activating kill orders against his own people now. Anyone who worked on Project Lazarus, anyone who knows the truth about Camp Victory, they're being designated as security risks. Sound of helicopters overhead, searchlights sweeping the highway. Weston, there's something else. I've been analyzing the phantom train's manifestation patterns. They're not random. The trains are following specific routes, targeting specific people. It's like they have a list. Radio filled with overlapping voices, the phantom passengers. Sterling James Michael, age 47. Classification, war criminal. Davidson Sarah Louise, age 52. Classification, cover-up specialist. Morrison Robert Allen, age 34. Classification, assassination coordinator. Judgment pending. Collection imminent. They're reading names, Poppy. Hundreds of names. Everyone who was involved in Project Lazarus. Everyone who participated in the cover-ups. Everyone who benefited from the silence of the dead. Thomas Lowe's voice, fading in and out. The passengers have access to all the memories of everyone the train has ever collected. 70 years of government secrets, corporate conspiracies, military cover-ups. They know everyone who was involved, everyone who kept the truth buried. Sound of phantom train approaching from behind, gaining on the truck. But they're not stopping with the guilty, son. The rage is spreading. They're starting to target anyone in positions of power, anyone who could potentially cover up atrocities. The innocent are becoming collateral damage. CB radio crackling with Eden's voice. Weston, dear, you need to understand what the conductor position really means. It's not about driving the train. It's about restraining it. The phantom passengers have infinite rage, but finite wisdom. They need someone alive to remind them of mercy, of proportion, of justice versus vengeance. Emergency alert, now clearly coming from multiple phantom sources. This is the Phantom Railroad Network. We are the voices of the silenced. We are the memories of the murdered. Judgment Day has arrived for the guilty. No mercy will be shown. No truth will remain buried. The train's right behind me now. I can see the locomotive in my mirrors, glowing with that sickly green fire. The passenger cars stretch back into infinity, hundreds of souls seeking retribution. Sound of spectral steam, phantom brakes engaging. Weston, my father's voice desperate now. The train is offering you one last chance. Board now and take control, or watch as justice becomes indiscriminate slaughter. Poppy's voice breaking with emotion. Don't do it, Weston. I've seen what power does to people, even good people, even people seeking justice. The phantom train will corrupt you, turn you into something you never wanted to be. But look at the alternative, Poppy. Sterling's people are already mobilizing military assets. I can see Apache helicopters on the horizon, loaded with experimental weapons designed to disperse supernatural entities. They're going to try to destroy the Phantom Railroad, scatter the souls of everyone seeking justice. Sound of truck doors opening, footsteps on asphalt. Son, please. The passengers are losing themselves to rage. Without a conductor to guide them, they'll become exactly what Sterling's people claim they are: weapons of mass destruction. Terrorist entities that need to be eliminated. Phantom train doors hissing open, spectral conductors' uniform materializing again. I can feel the weight of it, Poppy. Not just the responsibility, but the power. As conductor, I wouldn't just be guiding the train. I'd be controlling an army of the dead, each one carrying memories of government secrets, corporate crimes, military atrocities. Sterling's voice, now coming from approaching helicopters. Low, step away from the phantom entity. You have 30 seconds before we commence dispersal operations. Experimental sonic weapons will scatter every supernatural manifestation within a 50-mile radius. Sound of weapon systems powering up, high-pitched whining. The souls won't be destroyed, Sterling continues, but they'll be fragmented, confused, powerless. Trapped in limbo forever, unable to seek justice or revenge. Thomas Lowe's voice pleading. That's why the conductor position exists, son. Not to control the dead, but to protect them. To ensure their voices aren't silenced again, this time permanently. Phantom passengers disembarking, surrounding Weston. I can see them all clearly now. Maria Santos, the first victim from 1952, still bearing the burn marks from their electrical experiments. Dr. Harrison Webb, the scientist who tried to blow the whistle and was found hanging in his cell. Reporter Janet Mills, who disappeared while investigating Project Lazarus in 1967. Overlapping voices of the phantom passengers. They're going to scatter us, Weston. Trap us in silence again. We'll never be able to tell our stories. The truth will die with us. Please, don't let them win. Sound of approaching helicopters, weapon systems locking on. Final warning, Low. Step away from the phantom entities or be designated a hostile target. CB radio, Poppy's voice breaking. Weston, whatever you decide, remember that every choice has consequences. If you become the conductor, you'll have the power to expose every secret, punish every wrongdoer. But you'll also become judge, jury, and executioner for the entire country. Phantom train whistle, urgent and insistent. The uniform is solid in my hands now. Heavy blue fabric, brass buttons that gleam with otherworldly light. The conductor's cap that my father wore, that his father wore before him. 4 generations of Lows, all called to this moment. Sound of sonic weapons charging to full power. 10 seconds, Low. Choose now. Emergency alert, phantom passengers speaking in unison. We are the Phantom Railroad. We are the collective voice of injustice. With or without a conductor, we will have our reckoning. The guilty will be collected. The truth will be exposed. Justice will be served. Sound of Weston putting on the conductor's uniform. I'm sorry, Poppy. I'm sorry for what I'm about to become. Phantom train doors slamming shut, whistle blowing triumphantly. Sound of sonic weapons firing, but harmlessly scattering against the train's supernatural shields. Thomas Lowe's voice, now speaking from the conductor's cabin. Welcome aboard, son. Now the real work begins. CB radio, final transmission before equipment fails. This is Conductor Weston Lowe of the Phantom Railroad Network. We are the voice of the silenced, the memory of the murdered, the justice of the dead. To those who have covered up atrocities, who have silenced whistleblowers, who have buried inconvenient truths. We're coming for you, not as vengeful spirits seeking indiscriminate destruction, but as instruments of proportional justice. Every secret will be exposed. Every crime will be answered for. Every victim will have their voice heard. Sound of multiple phantom trains departing in different directions. Sterling's voice, desperate and afraid. All units fall back. Phantom Railroad has achieved full manifestation with living conductor. Consider all Project Lazarus facilities compromised. Initiate scorched earth protocols. CB radio dying with burst of spectral static. Sound of phantom train whistle fading into the distance, carrying the voices of the dead toward an uncertain but inevitable reckoning. Recorded confession, CB radio channel 19. Date, October 17, 2025, 4:43 a.m. Location, Phantom Railroad conductor's cabin, somewhere between dimensions. Sound of spectral steam, otherworldly train wheels on phantom tracks. This is Conductor Weston Lowe of the Phantom Railroad Network. I don't know if anyone can hear these transmissions anymore. The equipment in this cabin exists somewhere between the living world and whatever realm the dead inhabit. Static bleeds through from both sides. Distant sound of Poppy's voice trying to break through interference. Weston? Weston, please respond. The helicopters are gone. Sterling's people retreated after you. After you put on that uniform. Are you still you? I can hear you, Poppy. Barely. The connection between our worlds is fragmenting with each mile we travel. Yes, I'm still me. But I'm also something more now. Something I never wanted to become. Phantom passengers whispering in the background. Hundreds of voices overlapping. The moment I put on this conductor's uniform, their memories flooded into mine. 70 years of suppressed testimonies, buried evidence, silenced witnesses. Maria Santos, screaming as they subjected her to electrical experiments designed to enhance psychic potential. Dr. Webb, discovering the experiments were creating more than enhanced humans. They were tearing holes between dimensions, letting things through that should have stayed buried. Emergency alert cutting through on multiple frequencies. Attention, Phantom Railroad now operational with living conductor. All Project Lazarus assets compromised. Initiate Protocol Omega, total information purge. Eliminate all witnesses, destroy all evidence. Authorization, executive level clearance. Sound of Sterling's voice on military frequency. All surviving Lazarus personnel, listen carefully. The Phantom Conductor now has access to everything. Every name, every location, every operation we've conducted since 1952. He knows about the dimensional experiments, the psychic enhancement programs, the assassination protocols. Everything. They're panicking, Poppy. I can feel Sterling's terror through the Phantom network. He knows I have access to files that could topple governments, expose decades of crimes against humanity. But that's not what terrifies him most. Thomas Lowe's voice, now speaking from within Weston's mind. Tell her the truth, son. Tell her what the conductor really becomes. The passengers aren't just sharing their memories with me. I'm sharing mine with them. Every person I've ever met, every secret I've ever learned, every moment of my life is now part of their collective consciousness. And through me, they're accessing the memories of everyone I've touched, everyone I've known. Poppy's voice, growing fainter as dimensional barriers strengthen. What does that mean, Weston? What are you trying to tell me? It means they know about you, Poppy. Your childhood, your training at the police academy, your access codes to the sheriff's department database. They know about your sister Emma, working at the Pentagon. Your brother Marcus, who designed security systems for military contractors. Sound of Phantom passengers becoming agitated, voices rising. Through the conductor, we can reach anyone. Access any system. Expose any secret. No truth can be hidden from the collective. CB radio crackling with Eden's voice. Weston, dear, now you understand the terrible responsibility of the conductor. You're not just guiding the train. You're serving as a conduit between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. Every connection you've ever made becomes a bridge they can cross. I can feel them pushing against the barriers of my consciousness, Poppy. Hundreds of murdered souls, each one desperate to use my connections to reach into the living world. They want to use your access to the sheriff's database to identify corrupt officials. They want to use Emma's Pentagon clearance to expose classified atrocities. They want to use Marcus's security knowledge to breach every protected system in the country. Emergency alert, voice now clearly coming from Phantom sources. This is the Phantom Railroad Network. We have acquired a living conductor. Through him, we will access all systems. All secrets will be exposed. All crimes will be answered for. Resistance is futile. Sound of Sterling's helicopters returning, different weapons systems powering up. This is Agent Sterling to all units. The Phantom Conductor represents an existential threat to national security. He has access to classified information spanning 7 decades. Authorization granted for kinetic strikes against Phantom manifestations. They're coming back, Poppy, but this time they're not trying to disperse the Phantom train. They're trying to kill me specifically. If they can eliminate the living conductor, the passengers lose their bridge to your world. Phantom train wheels screeching as the locomotive takes evasive action. Maria Santos's voice, speaking through the Phantom network. Conductor Lowe, we understand your reluctance to use us as weapons. But consider the alternative. Sterling's people are preparing to eliminate everyone who might expose the truth. Your friend Poppy, her siblings, anyone connected to you. They can't risk the Phantom network spreading. I can see it happening, Poppy. Through the Phantom network, I can observe Sterling's operatives moving into position around your location, around Emma's apartment in D.C., around Marcus's office in Austin. They're not just trying to stop the Phantom Railroad. They're preparing to kill everyone I care about to prevent the truth from spreading. Poppy's voice, now urgent and afraid. Weston, there are unmarked vehicles surrounding the sheriff's station. Men in tactical gear but no insignias. Emma just texted me. Federal agents are evacuating her building, claiming a gas leak. Marcus hasn't answered his phone in 2 hours. Phantom passengers speaking in unison. Through the conductor, we can protect them. Use our power to shield the innocent. Strike first before Sterling's people act. Justice must be swift and decisive. Thomas Lowe's voice, warning from beyond. Son, be careful. The passengers' desire for justice is pure, but their methods, They've been dead for decades. They don't understand the complexity of the living world. To them, anyone connected to the system is potentially guilty. That's the horrible choice I'm facing, Poppy. I can use the Phantom Network to protect you, to expose the truth, to bring justice to those who've been silenced. But doing so would mean unleashing the collective rage of hundreds of murdered souls onto a world that isn't entirely guilty. Sound of missiles being fired from Sterling's helicopters. Phantom train phasing through dimensions to avoid the attacks. Weston, Eden's voice panicked. The train is moving between realities to avoid the weapons. But each dimensional shift is making the barriers thinner. Other things are starting to notice the breaches. I can see them, Poppy. Things that were never human, attracted by the dimensional fractures the Phantom train creates when it shifts between worlds. The original Project Lazarus experiments didn't just enhance psychic abilities, they opened doorways to realms that should have remained sealed. Otherworldly sounds bleeding through the dimensional barriers, inhuman voices, impossible geometries. Sterling's voice now desperate. All units, withdraw immediately. Phantom train is causing dimensional instabilities. We're detecting non-human entities attempting to breach our reality. Repeat, withdraw and establish containment perimeter at 50 miles. Phantom passengers becoming increasingly agitated. The conductor hesitates. While he debates morality, our enemies act. Poppy Lane is in immediate danger. Her siblings are being moved to termination sites. We must act now or lose them forever. I can feel your terror through our connection, Poppy. Sterling's people have you surrounded. They're not planning to arrest you, they're planning to eliminate you as a security risk. And through the Phantom Network, I have the power to stop them. Sound of spectral energy building throughout the Phantom train. All I have to do is give the passengers permission to act. They can phase into your location, terrify Sterling's operatives into retreating. They can access every classified database through my connections, expose every crime, punish every perpetrator. They can create a reckoning that will shake the foundations of power. CB Radio, Poppy's final transmission before her equipment is destroyed. Weston, I need you to listen to me. Whatever power you have now, whatever choice you're facing, remember that justice and vengeance aren't the same thing. The moment you cross that line, you become everything you've been fighting against. Sound of gunfire in the background of Poppy's transmission, then silence. Phantom passengers screaming in collective rage. They've killed her. The conductor's connection has been severed. Sterling's people have murdered another innocent. Now we act. Now we strike. Thomas Lowe's voice, trying to maintain calm. Son, you don't know she's dead. The connection was broken, but that could mean many things. Don't let rage make your decision for you. But I can feel it, Dad. The Phantom Network is processing the probability matrices. Sterling's people aren't taking prisoners. They can't risk anyone exposing the truth about Project Lazarus, about the dimensional experiments, about the decades of cover-ups. Phantom train whistle, mournful and decisive. Emergency alert, now broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously. This is Conductor Weston Lowe of the Phantom Railroad. Deputy Poppy Lane has been murdered by federal agents. Her siblings are marked for termination. The time for restraint has ended. The reckoning begins now. Sound of phantom trains manifesting across the country, all connected through the conductor's consciousness. I'm sorry, Poppy. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. But I won't let your death be meaningless. The Phantom Network is activating every manifestation simultaneously. Sterling's people wanted to silence the truth. Instead, they've ensured it will be heard by everyone. Hundreds of phantom voices speaking through radio and television broadcasts across the nation. We are the Phantom Railroad Network. We are the voice of the silenced. We bring you the truth they died to hide. Project Lazarus. Dimensional experiments. Psychic enhancement. Decades of murder disguised as national security. The evidence is being broadcast on all frequencies. The guilty will be collected. Justice will be served. Sterling's voice, broadcasting emergency orders. This is a national security emergency. The phantom entities are disseminating classified information. All media outlets are ordered to cease broadcasting immediately. Military intervention authorized. Too late, Sterling. The Phantom Network exists between dimensions. Your weapons can't touch us. Your censorship can't silence us. Every murdered soul is now speaking directly to the living world, telling their stories, naming their killers. Sound of phantom train doors opening at locations across the country. Thomas Lowe's voice, sad but resigned. Son, you've made your choice. Now you must live with the consequences. The Phantom Railroad will exact justice, but at what cost to your humanity? CB Radio, final transmission as equipment phases out of normal reality. This is Conductor Weston Lowe. The choice has been made. The Phantom Railroad network is now fully operational, guided by the collective will of the murdered seeking justice. To those who covered up atrocities, who silenced witnesses, who buried inconvenient truths, we're coming for you. To the innocent caught in the crossfire, I'm sorry. Sometimes justice requires sacrifice. To Poppy Lane, wherever your soul has gone, your death will not be in vain. Sound of phantom trains departing in all directions, carrying the voices of the dead toward an uncertain but inevitable reckoning. Dimensional barriers closing, cutting off transmission from the living world. Silence, broken only by the eternal whistle of the Phantom Railroad, forever traveling between worlds, seeking justice for the silenced dead. Emergency broadcast system override. Date, October 24th, 2025, 3:17 a.m. All frequencies simultaneously activated. Source, unknown dimensional transit. Static interference, then multiple voices speaking in unison. This is the Phantom Railroad network. 7 days have passed since Conductor Weston Lowe initiated the Reckoning Protocol. The following transmission contains classified information regarding Project Lazarus and related dimensional experiments. Federal authorities are advised that censorship attempts will be futile. Sound of spectral train wheels on otherworldly tracks, growing closer. Deputy Sheriff Poppy Lane, personal log. Recorded on salvaged equipment. Location, abandoned rail depot, coordinates classified. I'm alive. Against all odds, against Sterling's execution orders, against the dimensional chaos that followed Weston's choice. I'm still breathing. But I'm not the same person who tried to save him 7 days ago. The moment Weston gave the Phantom passengers permission to act, reality fractured. Not metaphorically, literally. I watched Sterling's tactical team phase out of existence as Phantom trains materialized around them, collecting their souls for immediate judgment. The dimensional barriers Weston had been crossing finally collapsed completely. Emergency alert interrupting, voice distorted by interdimensional interference. Attention, Phantom Railroad network now operates across multiple reality layers. Conductor Lowe has exceeded dimensional parameters. Project Lazarus containment protocols have failed. Recommend immediate evacuation of all populated areas within 500-mile radius. I escaped because I wasn't considered a threat, I was bait. Sterling's people needed me alive to draw Weston back to our dimension. They underestimated how completely he had merged with the Phantom network. By the time I reached the old depot where this nightmare began, Weston was no longer primarily human. CB radio crackling with Thomas Lowe's voice. Poppy, can you hear me? This is Thomas Lowe, speaking through the Phantom network. My son made a choice that saved your life but doomed his soul. The passengers he thought he was controlling are now controlling him. The Phantom Railroad isn't just collecting the guilty anymore. It's taking anyone connected to the cover-up, anyone who might have knowledge that threatens the network's expansion. Emma never worked at the Pentagon. That was information the Phantom passengers extracted from my subconscious fears and used to justify targeting government facilities across the nation. Sound of multiple Phantom trains converging, their whistles harmonizing in an otherworldly chord. I've been documenting the manifestations for a week now. The Phantom Railroad appears every night at 3:17 a.m., but no longer just in Texas. Witnesses report spectral locomotives in Montana, Michigan, Maine, anywhere rails once carried secrets worth killing for. Each train carries a different cargo of the condemned, all guided by Weston's fractured consciousness. Eden Clark's voice, speaking through dimensional static. Dear, the conductor's mind has become a conduit for something far older than Project Lazarus. The 1952 experiments didn't create the Phantom Railroad, they awakened it. Weston has become the focal point for centuries of injustice, not just decades. Through my radio equipment, I can sometimes hear Weston's original personality fighting to surface. He's trapped inside his own body, watching as the collective consciousness of the murdered uses his connections to spread across the country. Every person he ever met, every system he ever accessed, every relationship he ever formed has become a pathway for Phantom infiltration. Military emergency frequency override. This is General Matthews, NORAD Command. Phantom entities have breached classified defense networks. Launch codes compromised, missile systems unresponsive. Entity identifying as Conductor Lowe, demanding complete disclosure of all black projects. Request immediate presidential authorization for nuclear option. The government's response has been predictable: escalation instead of accountability. They're preparing to detonate nuclear devices at phantom manifestation sites, believing they can destroy interdimensional entities with conventional weapons. They don't understand that the phantom railroad exists between realities. Nuclear fire will only tear more holes between dimensions. Weston's voice, barely recognizable through phantom distortion. Poppy, are you recording this? I can feel myself disappearing piece by piece. The passengers' hunger for justice has become something monstrous. They're not seeking truth anymore, they're seeking total domination. Every night, more of me fades into their collective consciousness. Last night, I witnessed the Phantom Railroad's true horror. It materialized in downtown Austin, collecting not just Sterling's surviving operatives, but their families, their neighbors, anyone who might have overheard classified conversations. The distinction between guilty and innocent has been erased by centuries of accumulated rage. Phantom passengers speaking in chorus, their voices layering over each other. Justice delayed is justice denied. Silence makes accomplices of us all. The conductor's compassion was weakness. Now we act with perfect clarity. Guilt is inherited, complicity is contagious. The living world will answer for its crimes. I've tried reaching other survivors, but the Phantom Network monitors all communications now. Anyone who attempts to organize resistance, anyone who tries to expose the truth about what Weston has become, finds themselves marked for collection. The Phantom Railroad has evolved beyond seeking justice. It's pursuing absolute control. Emergency broadcast, voice synthesized from multiple phantom sources. Citizens of the living world, the Phantom Railroad Network has assumed administrative control of your reality. Your governments have been found guilty of crimes against humanity spanning multiple centuries. Cooperation with dimensional transition protocols will ensure swift processing. Resistance will result in extended collection procedures. The worst part is seeing glimpses of who Weston used to be, fighting to surface through the Phantom Collective. Sometimes, late at night, I catch fragments of his original personality on the radio, desperate, horrified messages warning people to run, to hide, to avoid anything connected to railroads or government facilities. Thomas Lowe's voice, increasingly distant. Tell them the truth, Poppy. Tell them my son died trying to save you. What's wearing his body now isn't him anymore. It's something that was never human, something that feeds on injustice and grows stronger with each soul it collects. I've discovered the pattern in their manifestations. The Phantom Railroad isn't randomly selecting targets. It's following the original rail networks built over Native American burial grounds, over sites where workers died in suspicious accidents, over places where inconvenient witnesses disappeared. It's collecting the spiritual debt accumulated by centuries of covered-up atrocities. Weston's voice, desperate and fading. The nuclear option won't work, Poppy. It'll only make things worse. The Phantom Network exists across multiple dimensional layers. Nuclear fire will just create more breaches, let more entities through. Tell them the only way to stop this is to stop hiding the truth. Full disclosure, complete accountability, or the collections will never end. But it's too late for accountability. The Phantom Railroad has moved beyond seeking justice for specific crimes. It's now judging the entire structure of reality, finding the living world guilty of systematic oppression across multiple dimensions. Every secret, every lie, every buried truth has become evidence in a trial where the verdict was decided centuries ago. Multiple phantom trains arriving simultaneously, their combined presence tearing reality. I can see them gathering outside the depot now. Dozens of spectral locomotives, each one carrying the condemned from different eras, different atrocities, different cover-ups. They're converging for what the Phantom Network calls final processing, the complete integration of the living world into their interdimensional justice system. Final emergency alert, broadcasting on all frequencies as reality fractures. This is the Phantom Railroad Network's final communication to the living world. Dimensional integration commencing in T-minus 60 seconds. Citizens should prepare for immediate soul extraction and processing. Resistance is impossible. Justice is inevitable. The conductor thanks you for your cooperation. The Phantom train's whistle is calling now, that same mournful sound that started this nightmare. But it's not just one whistle anymore. It's hundreds, thousands, echoing across multiple dimensions as the Phantom Railroad Network prepares to collect its final cargo. Everyone who ever lived in a world built on buried secrets. I can see Weston standing in the conductor's cabin of the lead locomotive. His uniform is stained with the ectoplasm of 1,000 murdered souls, his eyes reflecting the collective pain of centuries of injustice. He's looking directly at me, and for just a moment, I see a flicker of the man who sacrificed himself to save me. CB radio, final transmission as dimensional barriers collapse entirely. Poppy, run. Don't let them take you. Find a way to warn the next reality, the next dimensional layer. The Phantom Railroad doesn't stop with one world. It moves between realities, collecting justice debts across infinite dimensions. I'm so sorry. I thought I was saving you. Instead, I've doomed everyone. Sound of phantom train doors opening, spectral conductors calling all aboard. The depot is filling with phantom passengers now. Everyone Sterling's people killed. Everyone the government silenced. Everyone whose death was buried beneath classified stamps and national security claims. They're all here, and they're all looking at me with eyes that hunger for justice. But I understand now what Thomas Lowe was trying to tell me. This isn't justice, it's cosmic horror wearing justice's mask. The Phantom Railroad network has become something that feeds on guilt and grows stronger with each soul it processes. It will never be satisfied, never be complete, never stop collecting. Phantom conductors whistle, final call. The train is departing now, carrying its impossible cargo toward the next reality, the next dimension where secrets need exposing and justice needs serving. And somewhere in that spectral locomotive, trapped in the conductor's cabin, Weston Lowe continues his eternal route, forever traveling between worlds, forever serving entities that were the faces of the righteous dead. Emergency broadcast, fading as dimensional transit completes. This is Deputy Sheriff Poppy Lane, last witness to the Phantom Railroad incident of October 2025. If anyone in the next reality receives this transmission, if anyone finds these recordings after the Phantom Network moves on to judge other worlds, remember this warning. Justice delayed becomes justice perverted. Truth hidden becomes truth weaponized. And sometimes, the cure for systematic injustice is worse than the disease it claims to heal. The Phantom Railroad never stops. It only finds new routes, new realities, new souls to collect in its endless pursuit of a justice that transforms into something monstrous in the darkness between worlds. Final sound, train whistle echoing across infinite dimensions, growing fainter but never truly fading. End of transmission. End of reality. End of everything built on buried truths. The Phantom Railroad continues its eternal route, seeking justice in worlds yet to be judged.